It's simple, really. Great stories with a good cup of tea. It's the Tea with Mike show. On this episode of the show, we welcomed Shinji Das to the show. So grab a cup of tea, sit back and enjoy an episode that is all about entrepreneurship and following your dreams. So you'll see it up in the top left-hand corner. You see that?
Yes.
Perfect. And you can obviously still hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Now we shall begin. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Tea with Mike show. Always excited to hear new stories from new guests from around the world, all over tea. I'm really excited for this one, so please help me welcome to the Tea with Mike show, Shinjini Das. Welcome to Tea with Mike.
Thank you, Mike. I was wondering, should we get tea or not?
Also, do you have tea with you? What's your favorite type of tea?
I do not have tea with me, but I actually like tea way more than coffee. I actually don't even drink coffee. I like Earl Grey tea. I like fruit tea, like orange blossom tea, I think it's called. So I'm actually a tea. Yeah, I like tea. I definitely like tea. I think it's a lot healthier than coffee, and I think it's just a really classy drink, right?
Right. That's something that you can sit and have obviously a little bit like this, a nice conversation, a little bit of a slow burner, and you're not rushed for time. So yeah. So how many cups of tea would you say you drink a day?
Oh, I am not an avid tea drinker, but I like to drink it when I can, so I've been a real junkie of these, like, you go to like in London, it's like Harrods, right? Tea at Harrods. And then my family and I, we just did a holiday tea last year. So that stuff I'm all about. Daily, no, I don't drink it. Actually, so I learned that tea stains your teeth. And
that's why I'm going to the dentist today.
Are you going? Are you going? You're going later today? Is that what you said?
Yeah, later today, because obviously, I drink a lot of tea.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not about to do that every day, but I super enjoy it when I can. Honestly, it's like once in 3 to 6 months at this point. But again, I love it when I have it.
So tea for special occasions.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. So do you want to start by telling the audience a little bit about you?
Yes, absolutely, Mike. And I just have to say, your bio on Instagram for this show and for me was awesome. And I just felt like it resonated a lot with your audience. And I do want to thank you for that, because that was just very beautifully articulated and written. So thank you.
No, thank you. It's important to storytell accurately and to highlight the great achievements of different people, including yourself, around the world.
Totally. Well, and I think also, like you said, doing it accurately, doing it in a way that's engaging, and you did all of that, so I really appreciate it. It was awesome. So yeah, I think basically I have had a lot of time to clarify kind of, my mission and my branding and what I'm about, because as we're getting bigger, as my media platform is getting bigger, it's becoming more and more important to really tighten the branding and just make it airtight, just who I am, what I do, who I serve, because and you'll agree, every identifiable brand is very specific. So I know that's kind of been on the journey. That's been my journey, at least over the past few months to year. So basically what I'm about, Mike, is I'm a go-getter, and I'm motivating go-getters, right, online. Right now we're fully digital, no plans to open any kind of a physical presence. I mean, if we do in the future, it'll be like merchandise pop-up shops or something. I have no desire to be physical. I don't have desire to be in a retail location permanently or anything like that. So as in our own standalone way. So motivating go-getters, and it stems out of this idea that there's just a real lack in media globally. Actually, it's a real global conversation of intellectual, educational, empowering, motivational content. Like it's either like it's really funny and there's just no intellectual value, or it's so intellectual that it completely alienates everyone without a PhD, right? Like even today, and I had these realizations as a teenager. I think, how old are you again?
24.
You're 24. Okay, so I had these realizations as a teenager, right? And well into my 20s. So like this was a long time ago that I thought these things. I'm trying to tell you that nothing has changed. So it's still the same situation where either the content is really, really just highbrow, and meant for the PhD, the doctor, the lawyer, and it alienates everyone else, who, by the way, is the majority, who's not an engineer, doctor, lawyer, right? Or it's just so empty and like just vacuous that it does not connect with the engineer, doctor, or lawyer. You see what I'm saying? So that was my frustration. You look at it from a business point of view, that was my gap, that was the problem statement. And then I thought, what if I could solve that by creating a media platform that, first of all, speaks to both, number one. Number two is motivational and positive. Because the other issue that I found is, and to this day, all news is depressing, right?
Yes.
All news is super negative. I mean, not just negative, but super negative. And it's just very disappointing, because you're turning on the TV, you're going through your own stuff, not obviously everyone is happy every day. The last thing you want to see is more murders. No one is particularly, right, like interested in and excited about seeing that. So somewhere, I'm deeply passionate to this day about bridging that gap and showing positive, uplifting, motivational content. That you can do it, you can go get your goals. And I think with the ambition, I mean, I'm an industrial engineer. I graduated from Georgia Tech at 22. I worked at Deloitte for a little bit in technology consulting and digital marketing. So I'm very much an academic. I'm very much super smart. I'm really dedicated, very hardworking. So somewhere the goals, concept really appealed to me, that like if I were to be the face of something, I want to be the face of ambition and motivating go-getters to go get their goals. And I think to this day, like I'm very proud of the branding, because like if there's anyone who should be the face of a go-getter, like it's me. Everything that I've done, I'm a public speaker, I'm a super young achiever, I've achieved everything pretty fast. I was a top 10 national finalist in public speaking at 17. I just started competitive public speaking at 15. So I am really the face of a go-getter. And then also when you think about, like girls like me, Indian, Latina, etc., super underrepresented, confidence is not our forte. So it's a very interesting branding, because by just existing and speaking and now we have like 500,000 plus, followers or go-getters across my platforms. It's really making a difference, because I'm attracting Nigerians, I'm attracting Latinos, I'm attracting, Canadians, just people who've never felt represented, ever. So right now the modicum is content, so I'm a content machine to produce a digital platform. And now we have different paid offerings. So we're doing consultations, which are going really great. So it's like you have this goal, you have no idea how to get it. Usually it's related to personal branding on social media, how to build a business from that. That's obviously my forte. So we're doing that with them, my media company, Das Media Group. And then I have a book out, which is my memoir at 26, also digital, unapologetically Shinjini. That's selling really well. So we're very much DIY, Mike. We don't have distributors. We don't have, my book is not paperback, but that's my whole point, is that we're digital and they like me and I like them, and they're buying from me, and that's great, so I think that's kind of been my modus operandi, because we are self-funded, and if media, imagery, all of it costs a lot,
Yes.
So I'm at the point of just, we're trying to be fully profitable as a media company, and absolutely then we're going to look into paperback and audiobook and all the things that my go-getters want from me. But that's kind of been my grind over the past 3 years and then some.
Fantastic. So let's go back a few years. So not too many, obviously you're still very young, but so you were born in India, you lived in Malaysia, and now that then you moved to the US at 9 years old. Do you think that moving around so much as a child, experiencing different cultures, impacted or influenced your outlook on life?
Totally, 100%, 100%. I think, And I talk about this a lot. I talked about this in my Forbes profile. I talk about it in Business Insider profile, Inc. profile, everything that, that was my norm. Diversity was my foundation, so I had my Thai friends, I had my British friends, I had Canadian, not so much, I don't think in Malaysia, but I had Thai, Chinese, Indian, Japanese, mostly Asian in Malaysia, and it was a British international school, one of the top rated private schools in Malaysia. So that was my foundation, that my teacher is from here, this is from here. So when I came to America, and if you, I think it's still pretty insular, Mike. So it's like a lot of my friends like still never left the state, right? Or born in one place and that's it, right? So it was very interesting for me and also difficult to understand where they're coming from, and it's like, you guys have never left your state, like that's never been on a plane, so it was just a huge divide, I think, that I had to close. And just really, questions like, oh, Malaysia, where is that? Is that China? Is that, like, just no idea, yeah, no idea what that is, where that is. And then people called me Malaysian, so I think that was also a conversation of, just because you live somewhere doesn't mean that you are ethnically from there, so then I have to explain that I'm Indian, but from, we lived in Malaysia. So it was just fascinating, because for me it was so normal, eating Malay food, eating Chinese food, which is why, and I talk about this everywhere in all my interviews, that my palate is very global, is Asian, is Chinese, Thai, Indian. I'm very comfortable with all sorts of food. I have friends like don't even eat that kind of food. They're like, no, I need my burger, I need my fries, I need my, so 100%, it has shaped every part of me, not just one part. And it makes me a perfect global, not even ambassador, but global advocate. That today, as I'm sort of motivating go-getters in Nigeria, South Africa. Yesterday, I had my first South African consultation client. He wanted to brand himself on social media, build a business. He relates to me because of my background. You see what I'm saying? Like, if I had just been sort of like, oh yeah, I'm from New Jersey, never left New Jersey, it would be pretty hard for him to relate to me. And to add to that, I'm brown. So had I been Caucasian and lived in New Jersey and never left New Jersey, I don't know if he would relate to me, And same, yesterday I wrapped up with another Latino consultation client, and he said the same thing. He's like, I'm working with you because I relate to you. I relate to the immigrant experience. I relate to, so not only is it just a huge part of who I am, but business-wise, Mike, I mean, it is really a revolution, because today in the media culture, like, they have to like me and feel like they know me in order to do business with me and my company, right? So it has just opened up a huge just sea of opportunity, because of my background. Which, by the way, I will say I was a little hesitant to share, because my foray has been in American media, not in Indian media, not in Malaysian media. So I got discovered by a publicist in America, came on American TV shows. A lot of these, I mean, everything, anchors, everybody on the shows, like, they've never even like left their state for the most part, so for me to go on talk shows in the morning and say, I'm from, India, Malaysia, like, it's a lot, so that's why I was wondering that, should I even talk about this? Because Americans still, right, I think like the vast majority, I think like still don't have a passport. And I mean, I don't want to comment, I'm not judging, but that's just how it is, so I was not sure if my story would connect, let me be clear, in an American context, but I have been blown away, because now we are really entering a global media age. So, and I am the perfect fit for this time. So I'm thrilled, because I was not sure, because how, like, you're an entrepreneur like yourself, like, the timing has to match, right? Like, with what you're doing and who you are. So, like, I think I'm great, but like, if you guys don't see the value in being global, then it's not a good thing for me. But thankfully, I mean, I entered, like, 2015 was my first year on TV. A lot has changed since then.
Awesome, yeah. And you brought up several good points about how people want to talk to, and they want to work with people that they can relate and connect to. there's a face and there's a voice behind the screen, and that's part of the reason that I started the Tea with Mike show was digital and technology has become so powerful. We're losing this ability to hold a conversation in general.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. So obviously, moving around had an impact on you, and it helped you create a diverse set of friends and experiences, which you're using to help fuel your brand today. So, as a child, were you always this determined to achieve?
Yes, I think I was very determined. I was not an extrovert, so today this idea of like being a go-getter, going out, getting it for myself, I think that's all new. I think that's a very new, that's very American actually. That's America's contribution to me, because this is the country of, like start from nothing, like make it. It's very much the American story. And then on top of that, I'm an immigrant, right? So that fits very well. But so I don't think that was always true of like I am just go getter, let's get it for ourselves. I think there was a lot of waiting involved in my past. But absolutely, the determination, the focus, the dedication, the academic brilliance, the focus, all day, all day. And I do think I'm blessed. I do, like, I will say that I do think some of that you're born with, So yeah, like if I just had a really bad work ethic, like it would have been a lot harder.
Awesome. So would you say that, based off what you just said, that your family's had a bit of influence on you through your journey?
100%. I mean, they obviously being an immigrant, right? In Canada, there's a bunch of immigrant families from all over the world. From England.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So you moved yourself?
I moved with my family when I was 17, but I think that's also the perspective that people have on the world.
Yeah.
They forget I'm an immigrant because I'm English and British.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from England. It's like it doesn't even like register like with them versus some other people moving from other parts of the world.
That's crazy. But I mean, same. So you get it, right? So you started over in a new country, and so same. I mean, I've seen my dad has pretty much been the only breadwinner, right? So he's been the only person working in the family, and he just works so hard, and he's so dedicated and so focused. I mean, to this day, right? And my mom, same, is like unrelenting. You have to be good in school. You have to, get grades. I mean, I got the President's Scholarship, which is a full ride scholarship to Georgia Tech to study industrial engineering at a time when my class was like 70% male. So, I mean, yeah, all day, all day. That's what I heard and absorbed. And so, yeah, 100%, which is why even today, like, I think with the immigrant mentality, there is a little bit of fear, right? Like, what are you doing? This is all scary, da da da. But I think what I always tell them is, but I'm very disciplined and I work very, very hard because of what I've learned, right? And as a result, I know I'm going to make it because I have that mindset. I'm focused, I'm dedicated. And we were just talking about this before we started recording, right? So much of entrepreneurship is the discipline, the focus, the work ethic, and the strategy to just figure out that, okay, if this is not working, I'm going to pivot. If this is not working, just being smart. If there's one thing that I can say to all aspiring entrepreneurs, you have to be very strategic, and that's all stuff that I've learned, in my past career and just growing up and who I am. So it is hard. It is very hard. But at the same time, every day I have to wake up and be thankful that I'm my own boss, and most of my family and immigrant, like they're not their own boss. So,
Fantastic. And then so you naturally led into what I was going to ask you about next.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to study engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology?
Yeah, honestly, and actually it leads into really good advice for just everyone listening and gonna watch, that I don't think you should major in what you're naturally good at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, because you are already so good at that, right? Like you are already a genius at it. You're already just oozing brilliance in whatever, in design, in marketing, in business. You're a natural business person. You're a natural mathematics lover. I don't know if I'm wired differently, Mike, but my thought was that because, and I have known this from a very young age, Mike, that I am a superlative speaker. And it's sort of this rare skill. I'm a superlative salesperson, which is also a very rare skill. And I'm a superlative business person, which is also a rare skill. So
all the world.
right. So at 18, I actually decided that if I'm already so good at that, and I'm actually a really good writer, right? So I was also always a very good writer. So I said that if I'm good at all that, why would I major in that? That was my questioning. You see what I'm saying? So like today, most people, the number one question I get, from the academic standpoint is, why didn't you major in marketing and why didn't you major in business? And my answer is because I am naturally actually gifted in marketing and branding and business, right? So I would not major in that because my thing is I'm already like really, really good at that. Like just
wasting your time all.
Yeah. So actually I did something which is really hard, which again, I mean, I would recommend to all go-getters. I don't know if they're going to take me up on this, but I actually recommend go-getters to major in what they're not so good at, but that they need in order to get their ultimate goal. You see, so for me, I knew that like engineering, like first of all, even that word just seemed daunting, and scary and intimidating. And then I got the scholarship, and then I was like, okay, obviously I'm going here. I'm going to this university. Now the question is, what do I major in? And then, like, say my dad and I, we kind of arrived at this conclusion. My mom was obviously instrumental too. They said, Georgia Tech is sort of this sort of #1 engineering school, right? Like huge engineering school in the whole world. You might as well major in engineering. Like if you're going to go here, you're going to go for free, which is really amazing, especially in America, because, everybody has so much debt from college.
Right.
I think Canada probably does a better job of in terms of cost. But they said that why wouldn't you major in engineering? And I said, no, that makes sense, like 100%. And then I thought about the skills of an engineer, and it's problem solving, and it's mathematics, right? Some sciences, and you really have this amazing foundation and ability to read data and problems and solve problems. And then I told myself, I said, you know what? This is all what I need, right? Because I knew like whatever I do in the future, like I'm going to need all this, but I don't think I'm necessarily the best at it, right? I'm a great math student, but does that mean I'm going to be a great engineer? I don't know, probably not. As a result, I actually chose that. So it was a very brave choice. It was a very, I would actually say mature choice at 18, instead of me being like marketing, so easy. I actually went down probably the hard part and got a GPA which wasn't the highest. I mean, out of a 4.0, I had a 3.16, which is not bad, but it's not the greatest, right? Considering my track record of like I was like literally top 20 in my high school, like number 20, and just did really well, everything. So it wasn't that great. My major GPA was, I think, under a 3.0, which is not great, but I graduated, the diploma's on the wall. It's done. I graduated with honors, and I'm an industrial engineer, and I use my degree every single day. It's processes. It's, to me today, it's digital processes. It's a digital supply chain, and just this incredible, I have this incredible foundation in data, so I am able to everything, my followers, my impressions, I'm able to look at statistics and figure out what is relevant and what is not relevant, because so many people, like reach out to me saying, oh, I don't know, my followers are going down, my this is going down. And then I look to them and say, hey, but how are your impressions, right? Impressions is like stickiness, right? It's like your views. So your followers are going down, but if your views are going up, the followers will come. You see what I'm saying? But if you have no foundation in data or analytics or anything, you're just going to be upset and sad and whatever else because your followers are going down. You see what I'm saying? So I have this incredible like objectivity with which I deal with everything today, which is 100% due to those 4 years, like without a doubt, because college gives you this rigor that I don't think high school or secondary school gives you, So college, that's why I'm a big college proponent, I think you should go I think you should go to college. In a rigorous major. Now, if you major in something just like random, then I don't know. So.
Yeah, what I'm finding really interesting is how you've probably gone the like the reverse or the opposite direction to 99% of people and like what they recommended. So did you ever have any doubts that you were doing something wrong and this wasn't going to work out because you just look at everyone around you and they're not doing what you're doing?
Yes, 100%, 100%. But here's the thing though, I look at my decisions like point by point. So even like, it's been now 6 years since I graduated, Mike, right, at 22. I mean, even then I said being an industrial engineer from Georgia Tech, which by the way is the #1 program in the world, right, at an undergraduate level. Like I knew, I was like, this is never going to be a bad decision for me. Like I will never look back 10 years later and go, wow, that sucked. Like that's not going to happen, right? And I graduated with my scholarship, full ride, free. Like how is that ever going to be a bad idea? You see what I'm saying? So I think when I take certain decisions, I'm always maximizing it. Again, that's what we learned in our degree is optimization. You have to optimize your, decision making, right? And so that's kind of how I've always rolled. So, industrial engineering, did I regret that? Absolutely not. Why would I regret that? There's nothing to regret, so that was good. Okay. Entrepreneurship. I mean, even today, what drives me is like having this amazing, like motivational, branding empire, right? And I'm the boss, and I have this amazing team who relies on me, and we're helping people, we're getting them to be go-getters. Nothing about that is wrong or bad or, or whatever. So I think that's always what has driven me is like the end game, and what I'm doing and how that's going to lead to the end game. So no, I don't think so at all. In fact, I think sometimes I feel I feel empathy for some of the friends and all that I had because a lot of them are still very scared, very, very scared to take any risks, very, very scared to leave their high-paying job, to do what they want to do. And frankly, to me, that cost is very high. So if you're making $200,000 or Canadian dollars, right? And you don't feel like you're doing what you want to do, to me, the cost of that decision is greater than the benefit. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you're making 200,000 Canadian dollars and you are just the happiest camper, ever, just thriving, you have a great family, you love your life, then I'll say you're amazing. Great. You're doing great. Right. But most of my peers, Mike, are in the first bucket of like making a lot of money but not entirely happy, right? Not entirely, not even happy, not entirely fulfilled with what they're doing and who they are, right? And so as a result, I am getting some amount of not jealousy, but it's like you'll get some comments of like, wait, so what do you do? So what? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like the people the people who are my clients, right? The people who follow me, they know what I do. So I don't need to explain to you what I do. And then I have to realize that they're asking me or questioning me because they feel unfulfilled. Like between you and me, Mike, I have never asked any of them what they do because between you and me, I don't care. Right? Like let me also be honest. Like you're an accountant, you're this. I don't care. I mean, you could do whatever you want, and I know we were in college together, but how do I care what you do? I don't. So that's when I'm like, okay, if they care, it's because somewhere they're feeling sort of like, oh, I'm getting so much money, but I don't really have a voice, at work. And so somewhere the answer is no. Now, the answer in terms of fear for me, it's like, okay, revenue generation, I got to reach out to the right people. So I'm more concerned with the tactical day to day, but I have never questioned the vision. Because even today, I think about the vision. I'm like, this all sounds awesome. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So no, I don't question the vision. But yes, every day I'm like, okay, so if I have to get this deal and 5 people said no, I mean, are these the wrong people? Like those are the things that I'm going through every day.
Right.
Not that this is a bad idea. Because actually, if anything, Mike, in the last 4 or 5 years, ever since I've sort of been seriously thinking about this idea of like going to the media, the need has become greater. I mean, you're seeing this firsthand. The media actually, in fact, has become more negative. It has become more depressing. there has been even fewer voices of women represented. And for me, as a non-white woman who's also not Black, there's no one, like no one at that scale. Not no one. There is, of course, there's people, but I'm trying to go like all the way. I'm not trying to go like level one. Hey, I'm done. Because if I wanted level one, frankly, I'm already at level one. You
Right.
know, if I want a Netflix deal, I could probably get that. I could probably get that in the next 2 years. But that's not my goal, right? Like my goal is like big time. Like I own everything. And then also yesterday I saw this funny thing. How all these like creators are like signing, Netflix deals and ABC Studios and this and that. There was a great comment. They said, "Aren't you like? Isn't success?" And I'm gonna remember this. Isn't success when you own the content? Like a deal means that you're working for them. You see what I'm saying? And so that really stood out to me because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create my own media platform and channel, and Das Media becomes the motivational, group. Das Media Group becomes the motivational media platform for go-getters. And maybe that's television, and that's radio, and that's your podcast, and that's audio. Like that's my game. My game is not a Netflix deal. I
Right.
mean, hopefully that will happen a lot sooner than people think, right? But I'm also concerned about like, okay, so are they going to let me own everything? Because if they're not, then that's not what I'm interested in. Whereas I think so many of the players right now, everything is for the short term. Like they're just trying to get in and get out. My Netflix show, my Hulu show, my this show, and oh my God, you've made it! Oh yeah, but like that's not the grind I'm on.
I get it. Yes. So
So
you graduated where are we? Georgia Institute of
yeah,
Technology.
yeah,
You've learned all these skills that you've just mentioned, like problem solving and et cetera, et cetera. And then so you've graduated. You
mhm,
walk out with the piece of paper.
yes.
What's your next move? How do you now get going and start diversifying in media?
Yeah, so that actually happened a little bit later. It was not immediate
Okay.
at all, and that's a good lesson for go-getters, right? Like you don't start a company just one day. Hello, like it's not. It's you usually. Let me be clear. Some people maybe it is like that, but usually it's not that fast. And so yeah, it was not like that for me. I was at Deloitte for about a year and a half. Great time. It was awesome. And it was technology consulting. And again, I tried really hard to like it, and I tried really hard to be good at it. But somewhere like this stuff, it all just kept coming back that there's really not that many women here in technology consulting, right? I'm also very young at this point, 22. Uh, they're all older white men. So it's the same stuff. And somewhere it just came to a point where 1.5 years in, I was like, I can't do this. I'm not really feeling it. I don't even think I'm particularly good at this, like making PowerPoints or like whatever, right? I'm enough, like I can manage, but I don't think that's what I should be doing. And somewhere I was just watching the partners, so they were selling deals, they were closing deals, they were going, and it was very few women doing that, and it was like the women were working for them. And so literally then I was like, is there a way, literally, and I, to this day, Mike, I'm being very honest, at 22, I was like, is there a way that I can just like skip that stuff and just go to that? Like, is there a way? Like, I don't even know the answer. I'm just asking myself, is there a way? Started doing my research, free time, weekends, and I was like, oh, entrepreneurship, that is the way. You create a company, you start your own thing, and hey, you are the CEO in 24 hours, right? Or whatever, 12 hours, 6 hours, right? But that's when the work starts, right? And if you are as good as you say you are, you better be able to prove your worth. You have to get deals, you have to get this, you have to get that. And I was like, you know what, I trust myself, I know who I am, like I know that's what I'm meant for. So I really tried, I worked really hard, but I just lasted barely 1.5 years. And that's when I'm like, I gotta dip. That's when also digital started attracting me, Mike. So I think my sort of love affair with the media began then, I would say. And I said, I really just want to be in digital. I feel like digital is the future. Because I was thinking everything that you're thinking, that there's so much power here. There's so much potential here. There's so many people online, right, who need what I can offer, which is motivational, uplifting content, because literally I would just be reading some of the stuff, whatever, New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And I was like, you guys, like, what are they even saying? Like, does anyone understand any of this? Or relate? I think the other question was relate. And the answer was no. I think that answer was pretty simple. And I still remember, I told myself, I said, I can write better than this. And I can do that today. And it's free for me to do that. I can just start tweeting. I can start writing. And so that's what I did. So while I was at Deloitte, as I left, I started tweeting. And that's when I got picked up by the publicist, etc. So the wheels started turning pretty fast, Mike, but I did not go all in until 2016. So it was not immediate, because again, most of the entrepreneurs who I feel like just dive right in, a lot of them didn't go to college. A lot of them may not have even finished high school, frankly, because they're that good. They're like, I don't need high school, I don't need college. I just want to start a company. That's what I want to do, and I have the most respect for them. But I am also a deep academic, and I study and I learn. So for me to be that impulsive, like, that's not my style. So I had to really think about it. But it also came to a point where the two jobs that I had, I would not say that either really worked out, to be honest, right? So I had this dream for a long time, but somewhere the dream got sped up because the two jobs didn't really work out. Right? If you had asked me that, did you always want to start a media company at 24? I would have said, absolutely not. That's crazy. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the media. I don't have any connections here. I literally don't know anything, Mike. So, but to be fair, the two jobs, it didn't really work out. And I was like, I can't really do this. And I'm not in a mental, physical, and emotional frame of mind to even job search again, because I know it's going to be the same thing, because it's like, you're still thinking about that one dream, right? You know that you're not ready to jump into it and go, but you're still thinking about it. And that's blocking your ability to be successful at other jobs, which is exactly what happened to me. So it wasn't that like, you guys, bye, I'm leaving, I'm starting a media company, I'm going to become rich tomorrow. It wasn't like that, but it was almost like I just had to kind of intervene and ask myself, like, hey, listen, you can't do this like halfway. So either we're going to go all in, or you're going to stay here and you're going to become, a CEO at this company. What do you choose? And I had to ask myself that. It was a real, like, what is that moment? And the answer was very clear to me. I was like, I don't know anything. I don't have any connections in the media. I have a publicist, but that's it. I've been on some TV shows. That's it. I barely have that many followers. Like, it was a very risky move, Mike. It was a very risky move. But I had just joined a speaking agency at 24. Exactly your age, and I had booked my first 2 speaking engagements, and the total check was $57.50. I have to calculate that, because that was my first check from any of this. Right. So $2,500 plus $27.50, $52.50, I think. Yeah, $52.50 was my check, and that's when I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's go. Let's this is it. And also I knew that the media is so obnoxious and like exclusive and like doesn't let normal people in and just, acts difficult, right? Like, acts difficult. I knew that it's going to take me some time to establish myself because I come from nothing, right? Because my parents know no one in the media. I just have a publicist and that's it. So I knew that starting at 24 was God's way of saying, I'm going to make you make it. You are going to make it, but you're going to have to hustle your face off because you don't come from anything here. You don't know anyone. As a result, I made sure that the 2 jobs didn't work out for you, which is why you could start this earlier. And I'm actually very thankful for that, because I'm 28 now. It hasn't been 4 years. It's going to be 4 years, end of September, almost October. But I really feel like, because if you look at our revenue, you'll be like, this is shit. I disagree. I think that I have a very solid foundation now. I have a huge number of people who know me and love me and who are genuinely invested in what I'm doing. Like, they're like, I'm a go-getter, let's go. So I'm seeing this like exponential rise that's going to happen with everything, with revenue, with audience, with different monetization streams, different, subscription platform, all the things that people want from a media company. But like, I always have to remind myself that I did not start where my white peers started, because I have other white, similar age peers in the media, but they'll be like, well, I was at Bloomberg and then I quit. And I was like, you guys, like, I don't want to talk about it because I come from a world where not a single person had any clue from Georgia Tech about how to help me. Not a single person I reached out to had any clue how to help me. So I am very empathetic to this idea of I want to be a go-getter, but I have no one around me, because that was my story. With everything, with speaking, with becoming a professional speaker, with going to Georgia Tech and trying to do speaking, like no one had any clue. So I just have to give myself, and that's a good advice for everyone, is give yourself that just that room to say, hey, yeah, maybe I'm not making what I think I should be making, but guess what? I've had to overcome things, right? Let me be honest, that my peers in this space have not had to overcome to be here. Right. And that takes a lot of mental, physical, emotional. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm a woman, it's been hard for me. That is also a part of it. But the biggest part of it is you don't know anyone. So you have to build all your connections from day one. You have to, which is why like I resonate so much with the immigrant story. Came to America, lost everything, had to start over. Like that. So long story short, that's the cycle. And I think where we are right now, people respect me more because of the journey that I've been on. I think had I been white, had I worked at Fortune magazine, right, and quit to start my company because everybody at Fortune was on my team and they were rooting me on, I think it would have been a different situation. And I think I would have also attracted different people. Because I look at who's following me today, Mike, and it's like hustler from Canada, knows no one, right? Go-getter from Nigeria, like neck deep in poverty, right? And then that's when I'm like, why do you guys like my man? And that's when they're like, no, but you give me hope. And so when you say something like that, that's when I realized that probably I wouldn't have given them hope if I were so privileged to start in this industry.
Because people can definitely relate more to like people that have been through similar struggles.
Right. Right. Well, and also, I mean that, and I haven't grown like drastically, Mike. It's not like I have 5 million followers, and like it's been a very humbling rise, So I think that's also something people relate to because they're like, you're not overnight, And there again, I have peers, even peers of color in the space who I would categorize as the overnight, whatever, they went viral, BuzzFeed picked them up. Huffington Post said that they're the next big thing, but I have not had any of that. However, guess what the upside to that is? It means I completely own my brand. I completely own the attention of everyone following me. And I look like a real brand versus like some overnight, whatever, and which is like not as, substantial. So I think I definitely had some, I don't want to say insecurity, but I had something of like, well, I've never gone viral and I've never, done this and I've never done, but then I was like, no, but there's strength in that though, right? Like look at the other side that I've never gone viral and still we're doing 8 million impressions or views a month organically.
That's
like,
nuts.
Right? Like most people don't know about me, but we're still here. So I'm looking at it from a empowerment angle. Versus like I've never been on some YouTuber's video or whatever. It's like, and also like now I'm ready for that, right? Like in the next few years, I think you'll definitely see me doing collabs and this and that. But I didn't want to start that way because I think when you start with collaborations and this and da 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 da, it becomes so diluted. Which is why the majority of my peers, I don't think have a standalone brand. They just like post random stuff on Instagram, whatever. Maybe they're a motivational account, but like, what's your brand? You see, motivational account is not a brand, right? A brand is Nike, just do it, right? A brand is, I don't know, Patagonia, right? A brand is Twitter, it's a platform. So I think that's what I'm kind of like seeing around me is that, yeah, they have a lot of followers, lot of engagement, but like, what is their brand? What do they stand for? And I think for me, I'm very proud that I have really built that myself, that when you see me today, it's very clear: women empowerment, women, like, it's all like women center, which is why you see a lot of solo images of me, whatever, speaking on TV, because I'm trying to convey that she's enough on her own. She doesn't need the man and this and that, go get her. Like, I think that's what I'm very proud of. And even just the other day, this guy from this like village in India has internet, has connection. And he told me, he said, ma'am, your message is so clear. Which, like, for me, it was so beautiful, because I'm like, that's all I'm trying to do. Because I think if you can just build a real brand in 3 years, like, I'm very excited about the future then. Because now we're at a position where other people know what I am, know who I am, know what we're doing. And now we can do the whatever collabs, whatever, BuzzFeed, whatever the hell, that we need to do. But I think without that, it's very hard. And it's just kind of shocking how many people around me like continue to move up without that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we're just going to take a brief pause, and then we'll definitely dive a little deeper into some of the advocacy work that you have been doing. So the tea fact for the episode is, does peppermint tea have caffeine? So it's like a question. So unless blended with ingredients that contain caffeine, peppermint tea is actually caffeine-free. However, it may still kind of be like the perfect choice for increasing alertness without having to take something that's got caffeine in it, because research shows that peppermint also helps improve, obviously, alertness and memory. And that comes from simplelooseleaf.com.
Wow, that is quite a fact. That's quite a fact.
Yeah. It's the Tea with Mike show.